Wouldn't be to come here without turning the air off, and also because all the noise, you got all these people in there sweating and upset. You got to really, really feel it. The legacy I want to leave behind is that I want to leave behind stories that I consider to be evergreen, that will have just, Addicted actually made the New York Times list like 15 years after it originally made it. It went back on the Times list. I want to leave stories that will be relevant 50 years from now, just like they actually were relevant 50 years ago. And tell them in different mediums, and at the same time, help as many people as I can also achieve those same kind of, things. Because I also teach writing courses and, all that kind of stuff to help other people really develop their gifts as well.
Okay. All right. Okay. You're the last question, okay?
I think we have somebody over there.
Who?
I'm good though, I'm good.
I have one.
Look, I ain't doing nothing but going back to the hotel and taking me a senior citizen nap. So I'm okay.
We're going to do Lauren, and then we're going to let the
Now, Zane, I love you, and I
love you too.
And I'm so proud of you, and I'm very humbled to be here in this audience
Aww.
with my daughter, who's 22. I've been telling her about you, and I have a guest here. Her name is Shayna. And so, what would you recommend to the audience and to myself if someone wanted to kind of walk in your footsteps or walk in your shadow or be in your shoes?
The first thing I would have to say is, and I mean this with all sincerity, you cannot worry about what other people think.
Oh yeah, that's true.
If I worried about what other people thought about what I write or what I do, and I would not be where I am today, because so many people wanted me to conform. And I wasn't interested in that. I am who I am, and with that I've been able to, blaze a trail for not only myself, but for others. Social media is very, very important. I actually became famous over the internet. I didn't do a book signing for like 4 years. I lived a double life for 5 years, so that was kind of interesting. I can honestly say I did that.
Explain that some more.
So, for 5 years, nobody knew I was Zane. Nobody knew I was Zane, including my parents. Nobody knew.
Can I just add this? I have to add this. When I met Zane, I believe it was at Essence.
Yes.
It was backstage, and Donna Richardson Jordan, which we all know. She said, "That's Zane over there." I said, "That's Zane?" And I mean, just like this. And then I went over there. I said, "Hi, Zane. I love you." And that's simple as that, because it's just, you don't know.
So like when Zane Sex Chronicles, the main character betrays me, that was true. My friends and I was Zane. And the reason I finally figured out I was onto something, I was living in North Carolina at the time in a very country area, very rural area. And I'm at home one night, and one of my friends comes and knocks on my door like at midnight, because she worked like the 3 to 11 shift at Freightliner trucks. So I'm thinking it's some emergency. So I open up the door, she runs in, she's like, "Look, you've got to read this." Now, this was before I had a book come out. She said, "You've got to read this. You've got to read this. The guys in my job are printing this out and passing it around. It's by some dude named Zane." So it was my story, the airport, that I had put online. And so I had to sit there and pretend. I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm tired. Leave it here. I'll read it in the morning." Because I'm sitting, how am I going to sit here and pretend like, I read the bed? That's when and then one of my very best friends emailed me for advice one night.
Oh.
And didn't know it was me. You know what I mean? So.
I'm talking about the Jamaica one.
Oh. Well, one reason why I decided to, come out somewhat, I still kind of lead a very sheltered, private life. A lot of people still. But, one reason why I decided to at least come out and show my face, and the way I did is I let the New York Times do this huge, they had like my face taking up half of the